everyone. So in this video, we're going to discuss how to create approval process using the standard setup wizard. Okay. So previous video, we have learned how to create approval process using the jumpstart wizard, right? So in this video, we'll be seeing how to create a approval process using the standard setup wizard. Okay. So before moving on to the creation phase, let us first discuss the scenario. Okay. So in the previous video, we have done a scenario for this, right? So whenever the opportunity, high value opportunity is being created, that is above 1 lakh, then if it is in the stage negotiation review, then sales rep Preeti has to get the approval from Steve, right? Before closing the opportunity. Okay. Now we have got little more complex scenario. Okay. Let us see what is that now. Okay. So again, we are going to create a approval process for the QWERTY Silcan exporters. Okay. But this time the requirement is going to be different. So what is the requirement is whenever an opportunity is created with the amount greater than 10 lakhs, okay, this time the amount is going to be different, 10 lakhs, okay. And if the stage is going to be negotiation review, then sales rep Preeti cannot close this opportunity without getting approval from two approvers, okay. She has to get the approval from her seniors. Okay, so first level of approval she is going to get from her immediate manager, who is nothing but the Steve. Okay, Steve is her manager. Okay, so immediate approval she has to get from him, and even then she cannot proceed to close this opportunity. Okay, why? Because the amount of the opportunity is very high, so it requires one more level of approval from the senior management, who is nothing but the CEO of this particular QWERTY Silcan exporters. So QWERTY Silcan exporters CEO approval is mandatory for closing this particular opportunity. Okay, if sales rep Preeti has to close this particular high value, very high value opportunity, then the both level of approvals from the CEO and then the manager. Okay, both of their approvals is mandatory in order to close this particular opportunity to closed one. So this is our requirement. Okay. So we will see the requirement in the text format also. This is the scenario. Okay. So if the opportunity amount is going to be above 1 lakh, okay, and if it is in this negotiation review, then this kind of approval can be easily approved by the immediate manager. Okay. But when the amount goes above the 10 lakhs, then the approval has to be sent to CEO also along with the manager. So two persons approval is required in our scenario now. So if it is actually 1 lakh and above, manager is going to approve. And if the amount is going to be greater than 10 lakhs, then CEO should also approve the record. Okay, this is our requirement. For this particular requirement, we are going to create a approval process. Okay, let us quickly jump to the org now. So I'm in my org. Okay. So we have already got a approval process here, right? So for the opportunity object, we have already created a approval process. As I discussed in the previous video, we will not be able to add new approval steps into the same approval process if it is being activated already. Since this is activated already, I will not be able to add new approval steps to get the approval from the CEO. So what am I going to do is I'm going to deactivate this first. Okay, so I'm going to deactivate it and let us start working after deactivating it. Okay, and one more important configuration, what I have done before this particular approval process is, let me show here. So I have created one more user. Okay, I'll show who is that. That is the CEO. Okay, so he is the CEO of QWERTY. So this particular configuration is also mandatory. You have to create one more user with the system administrator uh, profile. So I have created one more user also. Okay, so if you are following along with the video to create the approval process, make sure that you have one more user. Okay, so this is the one configuration I have done. Let us go back to the approval process now. Okay, so now let us start creating a new approval process. Okay, we have deactivated the previous one. Okay, now we are going to create the approval process for the same object, right? So opportunity object only we are going to create. Okay, so let it be like that itself. Okay, now this time I'm going to go with the standard setup wizard. Okay, so we are going to go with the standard setup wizard because I have got little bit complex scenario, right? So let us go with this and let us give some name here. Okay, so highest value approval, let us have process. Okay. So give some name here. Okay. And let us go next. Okay. This is the approval process name, what we have given now, and go next. Okay. And here is the place we are going to determine the criteria. Okay. So what is my basic criteria? So whatever requirement I have in the previous video was whenever the record is actually created with the opportunity value of greater than 1 lakh, those records should only come into the approval process, right? So that is what we are going to do now. Okay. So we are going to give the basic entry criteria. Okay. What records you want to enter into this approval process. Okay. We are going to do that here. So as we discussed in the previous video, the same criteria we are going to give. Okay. So let us just start working on that amount greater than 1 lakh. Okay. So this is the basic level of criteria. Okay. So only when the records, whichever is going to meet this criteria, will enter into the step. Okay. And that we have discussed many in the last video itself, right? Let's choose the stage also. And let us give it as negotiation review. Okay. Fine. So now this is the basic entry criteria we have given and we will go next. Okay. So here also you have an option to choose the formula also. Okay. So what is the difference between Jumpstart Wizard and the standard setup wizard? As I told you, standard setup wizard, you have to give everything. Okay. So you are going to configure from the scratch. But in the Jumpstart Wizard, there are many default configurations done for you automatically by Salesforce itself. Okay. So in standard setup wizard, we are going to give all the details, whatever you want. Okay. So let us go next. We have given the entry condition. Okay. Next, let us see what is the thing. Okay. So next, what they have asked you is who is the automated approver? Okay. So the immediate approver, it is a kind of immediate approver, right? So who is my immediate approver? My immediate automatic approver is based on the field, manager field in the user object, right? So manager field in the user object is holding Steve manager as my approver, right? I'm going to choose this. Okay. So he's the first approver for me. Okay. So as I told you in the previous video that this checkbox was actually disabled for us in the Jumpstart Wizard, right? So here it is asking you to configure. Okay, what is the meaning of this? Use approver field of opportunity owner. Okay, so what is this? I'll show you an example now. Okay, let us just duplicate this particular tab. Okay, so let us go to the user. Okay, so who is the opportunity owner? So whoever is going to create the opportunity, he is the owner of that particular opportunity, right? So the opportunity owner's approver field means in our case, opportunity owner is sales rep Preeti. Okay. So sales rep Preeti's manager field. We are going to check the manager field now. Okay. Let us go down. You can see here. Let me go back again and just come again with edit. Okay. Okay. Let us edit this. So you can just scroll down to the approver settings. Okay. This is the approver settings I told you, right? So based on this manager field, whoever is assigned in this field will be the immediate approver. Okay. That is what they are asking here. Use approver field of opportunity owner. Okay. So opportunity owner is going to be sales rep Preeti. Okay. In her manager field, you have given the Steve manager. Okay. So this person is the immediate approver. I hope it is clear, right? So you can just click this. Okay. So this is the thing we are going to click here. And the record editability option was not available for you in the previous Jumpstart Wizard. Here you have an option. So you want whom to edit the record when it is in the approval process. So we have learned in the previous video that when the record is submitted for approval, it will not be able to edit, right? We will not be able to edit the record. And who is the authorized person to edit? Only the system administrator can edit. Okay. So here you have an option to choose whether you want to allow only the administrators to edit the record, or if you want to choose the currently assigned approver can edit records during the approval process, which means that the assigned approver can also edit the records. Okay. So that is the configuration. So you can just go with any one, whatever is your business requirement. I'm going to go with the first option. Okay, so I'm going to allow only the system administrators can edit the records while the record is in the approval process. Okay, so I hope this configuration is clear for you, right? So let us move to the next configuration. Oh, okay, so we have set up the immediate approver and all those things, and this is very familiar for us, right? So we know what is the approval assignment email template. We usually choose the template, right? So initially, whenever a record is submitted for approval, we will be giving a submission email, right? So this is the email template I'm choosing. This is the first email that will be sent to the approver from the opportunity owner. Okay, so it is actually a requisition for the approval. Okay, so this will go to Steve from Preeti. Okay, that is our requirement, right? So let us go to the next step. Okay, so next step is, this is also one interesting step, like this is the place where you're going to configure the approval page. Okay, I will show you what is that. I have shown you in the previous video the approval history, right? So you were able to see the approval history here, right? So in that we had some fields already: status, comments, actual approver, assigned to date. So these fields, if you want to configure what are the fields you want to make it appear here. Okay, so what are all the fields you want to make it appear here, you can do that from the this particular place. Okay, let us choose one more configuration here, like let us choose the stage. Okay, and also the amount. Okay, so these fields we can configure. Okay, so the opportunity name, owner, stage, amount, I want all these fields to appear in my approval page. Okay, so I'm choosing all these things. Okay, so I hope this is clear, right? And here you have an option to display approval history information in addition to the field selected above. Okay, so in addition to these fields, you'll also be able to see the history information. History information means, so the previously, what are all the process this particular record has gone through? I have shown you in the previous video, right? So if you want to make this particular approval history information to be available, you have to choose this. These options were readily default available for you in the Jumpstart wizard. Okay, by default, it was selected by Salesforce itself by the in the Jumpstart wizard. Okay, here we are actually configuring each and everything, right? In the standard setup wizard, we have to do each and everything. Okay, and this is the security settings. So from where you want to allow the approvers to approve your request. Okay, so you have the first option as allow approvers to access the approval page only from within the Salesforce application. Okay, so this is the approval page, right? So you want to make this approval page available inside the Salesforce or outside the Salesforce. Okay, so the recommended practice is this one, right? Let us go with the recommended practice itself so that the approvers can approve the request only inside the Salesforce application. Okay, I hope this page setting is all clear for you, right? So let us move to the next configuration. Okay, so here is the place you're going to decide who is the allowed submitter. Okay, last time in the Jumpstart wizard, we didn't have the option to choose the allowed submitter, right? So the initial submitter will always be the opportunity owner by default in the Jumpstart wizard. Okay, so here also it is giving you a suggestion that opportunity owner is the allowed submitter. Okay, you can just have a doubt here. What is this? I am creating the record, I'm going to submit the record. So why I have to choose here the initial submitter is, what happens is, in if someone is creating a record and he becomes the record owner, okay, and if someone else is logging in and if he is able to access that particular record created by some other user, and if he is trying to submit the record wherein he is not the owner. Okay, if some other user is logging in and he is able to access the record created by other opportunity owner, and if he is trying to submit that record, whether you are allowing that particular submission or not, you are going to make the decision here. Okay, so the initial submitters, who are all the initial submitters? So I'm actually going with the thing owner itself. Okay, so if you want to have other options also here available for you. Okay, if you have a role, and if you have a role and subordinates, all those options are available. So I'm going to go with the opportunity owner. I want to allow the initial submission to be done by the opportunity owner only. Okay, I hope this is clear, right? And the most mandatory thing is you have to add the submit for approval button in your layout, right? And the approval history related list, which I have shown you in the previous video. This option was also automatically available for you in the Jumpstart wizard. Here we have an option to edit it. Okay, and allow submitters to recall the approval request, which I don't want to do that. Okay, so recalling the request by the submitters itself, I'm not going to allow here. Okay, I'm going to save this. So I have actually come to the end of the configuration of the standard setup wizard. Let us save this. Okay, you can just compare how this jumpstart wizard and the standard setup wizard is behaving. Okay, so we have to do other kind of actions, right? So we will do that later. I will do this later and take me back. Okay, so let us just go. I'm choosing the third option. Okay, let us go. Okay, now we are going to add the approval steps and everything. Okay, let us click open the particular highest value opportunity approval process. Okay, so this is the one we have configured now, right? So we have given the approval process name, and we have actually given the entry criteria, and we have given the record editability as administrator only, and we have given the initial assignment email, and the initial submit is going to be opportunity owner. All those configurations we have done. Okay, now we are going to move to the next process. Okay, if you see here there is no approver added here. There is no approver yet added here. Okay, you can just watch this. Okay, and what are we going to do is we'll start with the initial submission action. Okay, let us start with that. Let us just add a new email alert first. Okay, so these steps are already we have done in the previous video, right? Same thing. I'm going to repeat it again. Okay, so high value submission email. Okay, so I'm going to give the same email template. You can just follow the video and try by along with the video. Okay, just choose the email template, whichever is for a submission. And so the person who is going to receive is going to be Steve, and I'm going to give the information to him. Okay, and let us just come down and save this. Okay, so if you want to choose some other user also, you'll be able to do. Okay, so you can just choose the option from here. Okay, I'm going to pass it to Steve manager an email. Okay, so once it is done, so we will also have a field update. Okay, the same thing what we have done in the previous video. Update, let us status update to pending. Okay, so initially when we submit the record, it should be pending, right? So I'm going to choose the same approval status and next. So pending. Okay, and save this. So next we are going to go to the important part of this particular video. So what is our requirement? We are going to create two level approval, right? So we are going to have two level of approval. So let us start adding the new approval step. Okay, let us click this new approval step. Okay, so what is the first approval step is we are going to give the approval, okay, approval step name. Okay, so manager approval first. Okay, first we need the manager approval, right? So that is what we are going to do now. So first it is actually the manager approval. So step number one is for first immediate manager should get the approval, right? We have to get the approval from the immediate manager. So we are going to get that from manager. So let's go next. Okay, so if you see here in the initial approval process step itself, we have determined what kind of record should enter. Okay, so here I'm going to go with the first option itself. All records should enter this step means, which means whichever is record is actually having records above 1 lakh. Okay, above 1 lakh records will automatically enter into the approval process, right? So it will automatically come into this particular step. Okay, so we are not going to get approval for records which is going to have more than 10 lakhs. Okay, that we are not going to give for manager. So if the record, so I'm going to go with all the records because in the initial entry level criteria itself, I have filtered the records. So the records, whichever is having the amount as greater than 1 lakh and stage as negotiation review will automatically come into the step. Okay, I'm not going to provide any extra condition here. Okay, because my entry level criteria itself is enough for the manager approval. Okay, so the first level of approval, I'm going to leave it all records should enter into this step. Okay, so which means the records, whichever is there in the entry level criteria will come here. Okay, let us go next. Okay, and here automatically assign using the user field. This we have determined earlier in the start itself. Initially, when we determined the initial standard setup wizard, we have chosen who is our automated approver. Okay, so that is why it is actually automatically it is actually selected here for you. Okay, let us leave it as it is. Okay, so this is one of the option. You can just explore this. The approvers delegate may also approve this record. What request? What does that mean is, say for example, if the manager is off, okay, and this record is waiting for the approval from the manager. Okay, so what can happen is we can actually go with the in the user, you can just see here in the approver settings. So if the user, if the manager is not available, we have a delegated approver also. Okay, so this, if this Steve is not available, we can just choose one more person here. Okay, so you can choose one more user here, so he will be acting as a delegated approver. Okay, so if Steve is not available, this delegated approver will have the authority to approve the records. Okay, so that one, if you want to do that, you can just choose this checkbox. Okay, so I'm not going to choose this checkbox because our requirement is not actually going to this particular thing, right? So I'm going to leave it as it is. Okay, so I hope you who should have understood what is delegated approver, right? So now we are going with the first step, and let us save this. Okay, we have configured the first step, right? So in the first step, what happens is, let us go with the third option. Okay, so here you can see here, the first step is done. Okay, this is the manager approval. And in this, you can also have some actions, as I told you in the previous video. If you want to have from the manager, if you want to receive a mail immediately, or if you want to do some task update, all those kind of actions you can do, and the rejection action also. Okay, so I'm going to leave it as it is. Okay, so this is the first level of approval we have got. And for which kind of records the approver, the manager will be the approver is only for the records whichever is actually greater than 1 lakh. Okay, and the negotiation review, what we have given in the initial entry criteria. Okay, so this kind of records, for this kind of records, manager will be the immediate approver. Okay, I hope it is clear, right? Now, what is our next requirement is, we are going to add a new approval step. Okay, so what are we going to do is, we are going to create one more approval step. Okay, so this time it is going to be, see, can see here, previous approval step information from the manager. Okay, this is the first step. Second step is going to be, it is going to be CEO approval. Okay, so I'm giving a name as CEO approval, and it is a step number 2. Okay, so this is a second level of approval we are going to get. Okay, and in this we have to go with the criteria. Why we have to go with the criteria is, I'm going to send only those records for approval to the CEO only if it is greater than 10 lakhs. Okay, so I'm not going to choose this all records should enter this step. Okay, I'm going to go with this particular criteria. Say, for example, I'm going to choose the opportunity amount should be greater than 10 lakhs. So I have given 10 lakhs. Okay, and then stage is going to be, let us choose the stage here. Okay, negotiation review. Okay, so only whenever the record is actually meeting this criteria. Okay, only if the record is meeting this criteria will enter into the next step of the approval. So, or if you are actually creating a record with 1 lakh or 2 lakh, okay, if it is 3 lakhs or 4 lakhs, so if the amount is going to be 3 lakhs, then it is enough to get the manager approval alone, right? So it will stop here itself. So those type of records will not enter into the next level of approval. I hope it is clear, right? Okay, so we are filtering still more here in order to send only those records which is very high value opportunity to CEO's approval. Okay, we are not going to send all the records to CEO, right? So that is what we have done here. Okay, now we are going to go next. Okay, and this time I'm going to choose the user. Okay, so I'm going to choose the user. So this time I have to choose a user, right? So initially what should we have done is, we have to make the CEO as active. I haven't done that. Let us do that now. Okay, so let us go to the users and let us make CEO as active. Okay, only active users will be visible there, right? So let us deactivate Preeti and let us activate the CEO. Okay, fine. So now CEO is activated. So only active users will be visible here, right? Let us just refresh this page again. Okay, and let us check what happens. Fine. So let us give the name of the second level of approval name. Let us give here. So CEO approval, right? That's the name you have given. Let us go next. Okay. So here I'm going to go with the criteria. So what is my criteria? We have done that already. Again, we are going to do that. Okay. So let us choose the amount as greater than 10 lakhs. Okay. And I'm going to give the stage as equals negotiation review. Okay. So let us go next now. Okay, now we have given the criteria here for entering into the CEO's approval. So here I'm going to choose the approver based on some user. Okay, so here I'm going to choose the third option. Okay, we are going to choose the third option. So who is the user who is going to approve my request is, I'm going to search for the user. And you can see here CEO QWERTY is available. Okay. So this is the person, he's a CEO, he is going to approve our records. Okay. Whenever the value of the opportunity is going to be about 10 lakhs. Okay. And here I just go with the second option. Okay, so require anonymous approval from all the selected approvers. Okay, I want all the manager and also the CEO's approval. Okay, so I'm going to go with this. Okay, and here too you have an option to choose the delegated approver. Okay, so when you want to reject, you can just determine the rejection action also here. Okay, so perform all rejection actions for this step and all final rejection action. If someone is actually rejecting here, what you want to do? Okay, so if one person is rejecting, okay, if CEO is rejecting, whether you want to reject the entire approval, okay, even though the manager might have approved, okay, if CEO is not approving, what you want to do? Okay, you can determine here. Okay, and perform only the rejection action for this step and send the approval request back to the most recent approver. What happens this is, so if even if CEO is rejecting, okay, if you want to send the approval request back to the manager, okay, you don't want to final rejection action, if you don't want to go for the final rejection action, even if the CEO is rejecting, if you want to go send the request back to the manager itself, okay, so in this case the record will not be rejected based on the CEO's rejection. Okay, so those kind of configurations you can just choose from here. Okay, so we are going with the first option itself. Okay, this is actually the rejection behavior. Okay, so let us just save this. So we have given the next level of approval, right? So let us check how it is looking now. Okay, let us do this later. Okay, let us see what is happening. You can see here. So the first level of approval is for the manager approval. So here we don't have criteria because we are going to make the record whichever is entering into the approval process with this criteria to get the manager approval. So what is the second level of approval is whenever the opportunity amount is greater than the 10 lakhs and if it is actually the stage is equals to the negotiation review, so the assigned approver is going to be CEO. Okay, so this is how we have configured it. Okay, so other things we have discussed in the previous video, right? Similar kind of configuration I'm going to do again. Okay, I'm going to update the field again. So the approval steps are mandatory in this video. Okay, so I'm going to status update. So status update to approval, right? Approved. Status update to approved. Okay, this is for approval only we are doing, right? So let us change the approval status to approved. Okay, and then the same email alert I'm going to choose now. Okay, all these actions are similar to the previous video what we have done. Okay, going to choose the email alert. Email. Okay, approval email to sales rep Preeti. Okay, so when this particular action will be reached is, so the final approval action is once when every approver is approving the request. Okay, so that is when this particular email will be sent to the Preeti. Okay, let us just configure this and let us give the final approval email template here. And here who is going to receive this is, it is going to be received by the opportunity owner. Okay, let us choose the opportunity owner. Who is the opportunity owner? Sales rep Preeti is the opportunity owner. She will be receiving the approval email, okay, for her request. Okay, let us save this. Okay, and then we are going to go with the, so here we have to do one important step, that we have to unlock the record, right? Once the final approval action is reached, okay, so when this action will be reached is when all the users, all the approvers is approving the request, right? So here also you have actions, right? For each approver you have actions. If you want, you can configure this one also. So the other thing is, important thing is, in the final approval action we have to configure the record locking also, right? So we have to unlock the record. Okay, so once the approval is done, we have to unlock it. So that is what we have done now. Okay. So similarly for the final rejection action, I'm going to add an email template, email alert. Okay. Email rejection to sales rep. Okay. And the email template is going to be the same thing. Okay. Rejected. Okay. And then I'm going to choose the owner itself. Okay. She's the owner, right? Preeti, and save this. Okay. And let me quickly do this field update also once the record is rejected. Okay. So field update. So here I'm going to status update to rejected and change the status to rejected. Okay. So this is how we'll be configuring the standard setup wizard. Okay, you can just compare both the jumpstart wizard and the standard setup wizard. So we have actually done many configurations in standard setup wizard, right? So this is what we have done. Okay, so we have actually configured 2 approval steps here. Okay, so this is the standard setup wizard configuration. Okay, so we have also completed the entire configuration. So in this video, let us just stop here with the configuration itself. In the next video, we are going to do the execution. Like we are going to see how this approval process is going to work with 2 approvers. Okay, so let us keep it active. Let us activate it. As I told you, before activating it, you have to make sure that everything, whatever you have configured, is done perfectly. Okay, so most importantly, you will not be able to add new approval step. Okay, so we have done everything, right? So let us just activate it. Okay. Okay, make it active. And in the next video, we will see the approval process, how it is going to work with 2 approvers. Okay, let us meet in the next video. Okay, thank you.
If you are interested to learn Salesforce, visit AJ Skill Development website. There you can find our course curriculum and you can come to know about the list of courses we are offering. We are offering Salesforce Administrator and Salesforce Development courses. To know about us and the team, you can visit our About Us section. This is an organization we are doing Salesforce training from 2018 and we have trained and guided 2000 plus candidates so far. And if you also want to know about our placement assistance, visit our placement assistance section where you can find the list of people and the category. You can see the list of people who got trained and placed from our side. You can also visit their LinkedIn pages to get to know about our training and also the feedback from the relevant trainees. Okay. And also, if you want to do the course inquiry, click on contact us. You will see the form. You can fill the form and submit the inquiry. Our team will get back to us. Thank you.